Cracking gang. It's the last episode because I'm sick of reading the files. I'm totally sick of it. It's boring and tedious, and it's like doing an assignment for school, except I don't get any benefit. I don't get graded or anything. So I'm just going to literally read it off the computer as we go. Hey, Ben. All right. So this episode is purely on psychic powers, ESP, and the like, and basically the experiments that certain governments have done on ESP and psychic powers and stuff. I call that. There's a whole program in the CIA for cultivating psychic powers, and it is for the abbreviation is USAINSCOM, which is Intelligence and Security Commanding, right? So if you're a head person in intelligence or security, you have to do the psychic program. So it's part of the way they train agents, all right? So, ESP. There is a department called Significance Relevance Leadership, all right? Significance Relevance Leadership is a department in the CIA. It is an ESP program for the intelligence and security commanders, right? Now, the mission statement of that department is the intent to publish in journals and give presentations to legitimize the research. So, yeah, and part of that is to avoid media sensationalization and to keep the findings like highly objective to prove the sanctity of the research. So the less like, oh my God, levitation, and the less like, hey, Shasha, the less like sensationalizing around the magic powers, the more that they can keep the research like scientific, And there's a thing that I read that was like legit stats, like they did an ANOVA of how accurate the remote viewing is, right? So, hey Jody. So they're measuring the accuracy and also the strike rate and also the likelihood. So they measured like all these things really scientifically for remote viewing. So, viewing a far off location. Okay, the gateway experience. So I'm going to get into the actual program in a bit, but the gateway experience was a whole document. And a lot of the documents are sent from one department to another. So it's like one head of department reporting to another head of department, right? So to strengthen focus and coherence to the brainwave amplitude and frequency output between the left and right hemispheres, so as to alter consciousness, all right? So that's what the gateway experience is. So they're basically trying to get the left and right brain to do different things to normal waking consciousness. And this is measured by EEG, so electroencephalograph patterns being equal amplitude and frequency in both hemispheres. So it's not like this side of the brain's like vibrating at this level and this one's blah, they want them like at the same, right? So in the foreword of this particular document, the Gateway Experience, Commander Wayne McConnell mentions Niels Bohr, a renowned physicist. So that's Bohr, if you want to look him up. Niel is Neil Bohr. Yeah, Neil Bohr. This renowned physicist. So Neil's son once said to him, "You're not thinking, you're merely being logical, Dad." And Niels Bohr used this to illustrate the importance of the right brain and how some things aren't clearly understood by left brain linear thinking. And to all the men out there listening, like when you're having an argument with your partner and she's like, "I'm upset about this," and you're like, "Well, that's ridiculous for these logical reasons," like she doesn't go, "No, I see, what I'm thinking is stupid." That never happens, right? Vader. Because it's a right brain emotional thing she's bringing to you. Like, I'm worried that you're going to sleep with my friend. It's not logical, but she's jealous of her friend for some other reason and is like, "You're important to me. I'm scared of losing you." And it doesn't make logical sense. It makes emotional sense. And so that's an emotional problem that needs to be solved with emotional intelligence and connection, right? It's not, you don't logically show someone why they're stupid when they're upset. That doesn't work, right? I know the girls are laughing right now because they've been on both ends of that. Anyway, so Commander McConnell says to understand some of the concepts, one must exercise such right brain intuitive processes, and that depicting things of this nature is sometimes difficult for mainstream thought. And his concern is that people misplace these kinds of things as a threat to common beliefs and systems that which people commonly believe to be right and true. So I just gave an example then of a day-to-day right brain, left brain problem. But what he's saying is that like some things when you try to explain them, people go like, thanks, Colin. Some people are like, nah, that's ridiculous, that's far-fetched, that's pseudoscience, blah, blah, blah. So then he mentioned that the commanders have to undertake the gateway training work with the gateway materials, right? So he's like, the common misconceptions and people, can't cope with this kind of thinking, but we have to do it. In the CIA, you have to do it. You have to understand this way of thinking, which is why they make them do it. So the Monroe Institute, that's the dudes that do the gateway experience, right? This technique of hemisync, right? So getting the both sides of the brain to vibrate at the same speed to induce the gateway experience. It's similar to like the binaural beats you can do on YouTube, yeah? Like 428 hertz and it's 432, yeah, 528, yeah. I should know this, I listened to them. So it plays like 529 and then 527 and then in the middle's 528, yeah? So it's like it makes your brain like sync up, yeah? It makes it work together. So it's similar to that. They have headphones and they're playing two different frequencies and it makes you your left and your right brain kind of sync up, and they call it hemisync, right? So they outline that hypnosis can kind of disarm the left brain. So you sort of slow down the logical brain and the right brain can sort of catch up and become more active. So there's some level of like right brain dormancy and there's too much logical brain and they kind of balance it out. Hey, Jared. So by hypnotizing the left brain a little bit and slowing it down, the right brain kind of boom, and then they're kind of in sync. So that's kind of how this method works. The hemisync, which is part of the gateway method. So getting the left and right brain to sync up is part of it. Okay, that's like the start of it. And they use the tapes. The Monroe Institute have made all these tapes. And there's like, I'm going to start talking about, there's like level 12, level 21 stuff, and they're just tapes, right? So by disarming the left brain, lessening the categorical analytical influence of the left brain, the intuitive brain can respond and react to things that have a more complex response. All right, that the left brain has biases, right? So there's a thing later I'm going to talk about where they're talking about 3D reality and our brain's like, I need to turn this into 2D reality because that just makes sense. Like our categorical nature is like more two-dimensional, and so you're getting this 3D information, you're like, I'm going to like make it make sense with the other information I've got, right? So the left brain's like discernment and categorizing is like, doesn't work in the favor of the right brain's overall capability, right? So he goes on to say that the homunculus communicates directly from the right brain to the body insofar as suggestion through the right brain can affect physical states such as numbness or joy in the body, whereby the left brain would usually say, look, that's not possible, or that doesn't make sense right now. I shouldn't be experiencing numbness, I shouldn't be experiencing joy, that doesn't make sense, right? So part of the training is this biofeedback using the left brain to tell the right brain, my leg is getting hotter, okay? So you just kind of, the left brain's lying to the right brain, it's going, my leg's getting hotter, my leg's getting hotter. And some of that like yoga nidra relaxation stuff is like, my arms are very heavy, my legs are heavy, and it's relaxing, but the power of the suggestion makes you feel heavy and then you feel more relaxed. So that's totally a common thing, right? But so the biofeedback thing is like the left brain going, my leg's hot, hey Mike, what's cracking? Mickey Vegas. So you're going, my right leg's hot, my right leg's hot, my right leg's hot, my right leg's hot. And then you get a thermometer and you're like, oh, holy shit, this is working, right? So then it teaches the left brain like, oh, I am in control of this right brain bullshit. Like, and so this is part of the training is going like, you are able to convince your body stuff. And so that's part of the training that the commanders need to do, right? So physicochemical, biochemical reactions. This is heading into this biofeedback shit. So now they talk about biochemical reactions to ultrasonic waves. So frequencies affect chemical bodies and that. And that's kind of what I was saying about the binaural frequencies can convince you to enter delta levels of sleep and advanced study states and stuff like that. And, they reckon, what kind of music is it? Baroque music. Baroque music is the most, like, calming and like best for study or whatever. And it's just the tempo and the frequency of the music from that era is quite good for modern day, for our current day study, right? But they talk about shooting frequencies through a quartz crystal in liquid blast sound waves through the crystal. So it's something about the sound goes through it and then it comes out in liquid. And they call it a piezoelectrical transducer, right? And that can somehow dissolve polystyrene. So something about the sound and the water and the crystal can melt polystyrene, all right? And that's this biochemical, physicochemical shit, all right? So the Monroe Institute produced these audio tapes that induce this state, the hemisync state, quite easily, and it generates an increase in brainwave size. So they can measure that on the electroencephalograph, what I said before. They propose that this hemisync state is achieved through accelerated higher vibrational levels and universal intuitive consciousness states are revealed. So by activating the right brain more, we can enter this like universal consciousness thing, and it's like transcendental meditation and that. And I'm going to talk about that more, like this universal consciousness and stuff, towards the end, all right? Several documents. FFR is frequency following response, all right? So the brain chases frequencies, like what I was saying about the binaural beats, and the brain makes up the difference between the frequencies. Hey, Rach, so it's, this playing one frequency in that ear and one frequency in that ear, the brain goes like zzz and makes it make sense, all right? So there's like the heart rhythm and the brain rhythm have a resonance, right? They have a separate resonance, and like, hey, buddy, yeah, and they say like humans are superconductors. So like, because our heart's like emitting a frequency and our brain's emitting a frequency, like humans are actually superconductors. So we're standing on this planet, but like electromagnetic energy is going through the superconductor into the planet through us, and it's coming out as well. So there's like energy, the Schumann resonance is like 7.83 hertz or something, and that's coming up our feet and stuff. Yeah, and if you do Qigong with us later, we talk about that a little bit, like the energy coming up from the earth through the feet is like common knowledge in Chinese medicine, right? So yeah, and so there was this thing about, does the electromagnetic sync with the Earth's electromagnetic pulse somehow lead to out-of-body experiences? So, so yeah, I don't know why they were implying that, but what I was saying about the Schumann resonance, like something about getting yourself down to a very low frequency somehow leads to these out-of-body experiences, right? If everything is the oscillation of matter, then we as humans are no less magnificent than the entire universe around us, as we are but the same frequencies and oscillations forming our body as are different vibrations creating the cosmos in various forms. So if we're all created by sound and vibrations and stuff, then what's the difference between us and like a spiral galaxy? Hey D, what's cracking? It's all just atoms, basically, is what this quote is. It's like, it's all just atoms. It's all vibrations creating things, Okay, here's where it gets interesting. This is this stuff about the CIA, just casually drops the universe as a hologram. There's memes about that and stuff. Yeah, and I'm going to talk about quantum physics and the time-space continuum. But this metaphor, this hologram thing, is pretty cool, right? This is like, it explains the law of attraction and shit. So stay tuned, all right? Holograms, okay. Now they define it as, if a pebble's dropped into a bowl, right? It makes a ripple. Okay, you drop a pebble into a bowl. So if you froze the bowl at the bowl of water, if you dropped a pebble into a bowl of water, it makes a ripple, yeah? And if you froze it, the hologram is the effect of the ripple, right? So the universe is just water in a bowl. It's not doing anything. It's just chilling, right? But then when you drop a pebble, like it creates like a ripple, right? So the hologram is the frozen ripple. Okay, so we create something and it goes wah, and then if you freeze it, that ripple is like the frequency of the hologram, right? So even if you break the frozen ice, even if you smash it, it's still got the ripple in each piece. Okay? Is this like blowing your mind or whatever? Anyway. The nature of the effect is frozen, and this can be done with lasers. I don't know what I was talking about there. So if the universe and the human brain, etc., are all frequencies, then we can interpret an incoming hologram frequency. So if you get a piece of ice that's got a ripple in it, and you don't have the whole ripple, but you've just got a bit of ice that's got the frozen ripple in it, we can still kind of go, oh, I get it. Like, I can interpret this piece of frozen ripple. That's like, yeah, so anyway, they're saying that that's how a hologram works. Like, you don't have to have the whole hologram. You can have a bit of it, and it's like, yep, I get it, So the Schumann resonance, I was saying 7.83 hertz. You don't need to hear the whole song. It's like if you just get a bit of it, you're like, yeah, now I get the Earth frequency. I'm down with the Earth, yeah? So that's what they're saying about the hologram is we can interpret an incoming hologram frequency without having the whole piece. It's a frozen ripple, and it can just be a chunk of the ripple. You don't need the whole hologram, right? So the mind compares the image of what it receives with itself, all right? And this dude, psychologist Keith Floyd, contrary to what everyone knows is so, it may not be that the brain produces consciousness, but rather consciousness creates the appearance of the brain. Okay? Okay, this is what I was saying before. If we perceive the incoming hologram as 3D, the brain tries to whittle it down to 2D because we're kind of like binary yes or no creatures. Like we're kind of black and white, yes and no. So as the right brain's a receptor to receiving these higher consciousness holograms or chunks of broken ice that once had an entire hologram in it, like just pieces, fragments of a hologram, the left brain then analyzes and compares this to other categorical data. So it goes, what is this and how does it relate to what I already know, okay? And that's the problem is we could see the whole 3D hologram, but the left brain's like, oh, how does this make sense? I'll compare it to, there's lions, tigers, leopards, cheetahs, and then I don't know what this is. It doesn't quite, I'm just going to make it into an orange cat. It sort of fits it in with what it already knows, okay? And so they're saying like by using hypnosis to lower the left brain's analysis, the brain's capable of more. The right brain's capable of making decisions, it's like, oh yeah, hologram, got it. Now all this shit makes sense, and without the left brain going, yeah, let's turn this into a 2D thing so I understand it, which is interesting, okay? Because, how much are we trained to be hyper analytical? And, it's kind of like the education system trains us to go, no, this is pseudoscience and stuff. Meanwhile, I've got pages and pages of references of like academic journals and stuff of like where all the shit's in it, like all of the psychic stuff it's been recorded like since the 80s particularly, but before that and stuff, and they say that like the Nazis were into this shit beforehand, and there's like some occult branch of Nazism and stuff, and I don't know if that's related to Project Paperclip and like bringing Nazis over to work after the war and stuff, but it's definitely in here. There's like Nazi scientists, and there was like Nazi psychic experiments. So possible scientists performing psychic experiments, right? Don't know if it's the same dudes. Don't quote me on that. All right. So the holographic model explains theoretical physics and brain research in harmony with the paranormal and supernatural experiences. Yes, quantum. Yeah, so quantum physics justifies the word of the ancient mystics. This is where we're getting interesting, because like our whole life we've been told like magic is this thing and science is this thing and never the twain shall meet. Science versus religion, and it's like they're starting to, to let us know, actually, we do know that there's a crossover, and it's like the left brain's like, no, that's not scientific enough, and it's like when you calm the left brain down, the right brain does some cool shit. I'm going to stop saying that. I've been saying it over and over again. Okay, they go on to say the human self-projects its own holograms out into the world and then analyzes its own projections through its memory to confirm the yes-no element to yield confirmation about the self. So this is very much what they're saying about the echo chamber. We unfriend people who disagree with us because it's painful. It's like, I don't, I was just talking about, I'm not good with anger. Like, I just don't like people being angry at me, and I don't like, it just reminds me of being like a child and being like sort of traumatized by anger. And I don't get a release from being angry, like, fucking, like, I don't like that. So I've never liked fighting with my partners, and I don't like people who are angry and who vent a lot. It's just like, I don't get a payoff from that. So I try to avoid angry people. I just unfriend angry people, and what this is saying is like, I'm self-projecting my hologram out into the world and then seeing like, yeah, can't keep it cool all the time. And then it's like the hologram comes back to you and then you compare yourself to yourself, right? And so this is kind of this religious thing, like God made Jesus to then be able to self-correct. You know, there's this thing there, like the universe creating itself, and then it becomes a mirror. You know, it's I'm projecting this hologram, and then I'm correcting what I can see. And you know, they say like a what's it called? Twin flame relationship is like someone who forces you to change by this period of self-analysis. And you know, those relationships are notoriously painful, right? And I've said, you know, it's rubbing your face against a cheese grater. You're like, oh, okay, fine, something's got to change here. Like, so that kind of relationship. But that is, you know, projecting on your partner in a relationship. In this model, they'd say that's a hologram. You're projecting a hologram onto them, and then you're testing it against how it comes back to you. All right. So how does the time-space continuum... This is all leading to the gateway method, all right? All of this is background to the gateway method and the gateway experience, right? Time-space continuum. Physics, right? This is physics, the time-space continuum. So if we are confined to a body, we are existing in time. If our energy is limited by form, then we are constricted to one place and one time and not existing somewhere else at another point in time, right? So the way that physicists measure time is that the change in energy or force in motion. So the speed of me moving from one place to another place, that's velocity, yeah? Distance over time is velocity. You know, that's how you measure how fast something travels, by where it is and then where else it is, yeah? So if we're stuck in a body, our energy is limited by being stuck in one place and not in other places, and not in all places at once, all right? So that's like the time-space continuum is based on us having a solid form. So energy in infinity, right, is called the absolute. This is in this model, and it's in Hermes Trismegistus, the Hermetic text, the Kybalion, right? If you might know the Kybalion, they refer to the all. Okay, so absolute infinite energy is still and doesn't project images or holograms of itself, because in a way it's complete. It doesn't give or receive because it's all encompassing. So the absolute, or the all in Hermes and Hermetic tradition and stuff, is the bowl of water. It's the bowl of water. It's not doing anything. It's complete. It doesn't need anything or whatever. But if you drop a rock into it, then it ripples, then something happens, and now something's moving, and it's like, cool, what's this? This is a frequency now. But the absolute is just, it's perfect, and it doesn't need anything, and it doesn't have any commensal or parasitic relationships with other things. It's like the universe is complete, basically. Or the thing that's bigger than the universe that the universes exist in is complete. The all and the absolute infinite energy is still, and it doesn't project. Okay. So Planck's distance, Planck, if you want to look it up, Planck's distance is when the oscillation of a frequency drops below 10 to 33 centimeters per second. Like, it's like frequencies are doing that, yeah? Like sound waves and stuff are doing that. And when it drops down below 10 to 33 centimeters per second, it's like a straight line. So it's not moving or nearly not moving, all right? So when something's not moving, they're saying it's kind of nowhere. Okay, so it can go, if it's nowhere, it can go anywhere. That's what they're saying. So if you can slow down a frequency to like 10 to 33 centimeters per second, Planck's distance, then you can start to exist in more places, all right? So we're stuck in a body, we can't be in more than one place, but it's like if we slow down the frequencies to like this, to Planck's distance, you can start to exist in multiple places at once, right? So Bentov said, we enter, in effect, a new world. And they call this the click out, all right? It's a temporary click out. We click out temporarily from being stuck in... Thanks, Steve. I've been poring over this the reason it's the season finale is I'm sick of reading these documents. I'm sick of it. It was fun. It was a great way to spend lockdown. Okay, so a click out is like we slow down our frequency to a point where we know we're no longer confined to our body, and we can be like in multiple places at once, right? Planck's distance is, the hemisync, the gateway method, is designed to enter Planck's distance whether you're doing an out-of-body thing or just not. We're entering like such a slow frequency that the laws of being stuck in a body no longer apply, okay? So subatomic particles, yeah, quantum entanglement. You might know about this in quantum physics, right? Quantum entanglement. Particles that collide and then separate, stay in contact with each other, and that's like faster than the speed of light. They're still reacting to each other even though they're not still connected, yeah? Like and then they could be miles away from each other and they still kind of whatever. And like my brother called me one day and he's like, do you have a toothache? And I'm like, yeah, how did you know that? And he's like, I don't know. And just like hung up on me. He's like, I don't know. But he just knew I had a toothache somehow, and it's because we're like energetically enmeshed. You know what I mean? There's no other explanation for that. And that's yeah, twins. Totally. Yeah, my dude Hannah's yeah, it's weird, her twin relationship. Yeah. Yeah, and Brad might be on this call. Bradis. Yeah, he's got a twin brother as well. Anyway, in this way, clicking out connects to other subatomic particles in the other world, which violates the speed of light theory of relativity, right? So when we get to a certain speed of frequency where we're still like the universe, the ball of water, it violates the laws of time and space. Okay, this is why I'm talking about the time-space continuum. So we're basically connecting to a different space-time, which is infinity. There's this nice thing, the sutra in a minute about infinity, right? So there's this other model, the universe is an egg, okay? The universe is an egg, this is the thing, sustained by the all, the absolute, this egg model, okay? And like I didn't get it and I still don't really like that model, but it's actually the universe is a torus. And if you know the torus field, it's like, it goes like that. So it's like this like hourglass shaped thing that's kind of like a whirlwind, and it goes up and then it comes back around and then it goes back up the middle again. So there's whirlwind, and then there's like the outside edge comes up, and this is all Qigong, yeah? This is what we're going to be doing later. So it's like a self-sustaining loop. This is this model of the universe, right? And so this diagram I saw, this is in the CIA files, if there's a black hole at the bottom and a white hole at the top, apparently our universe is close to the top because the northern universes are moving away faster than the south. I don't know what that means, but the northern universes are moving faster than the southern ones, okay? If that makes sense. So if matter is cycling, then we can access the past, present, and future because they're all cyclical and they're re-entering the universe at all times, okay? There's a black hole absorbing and there's a white hole giving energy, and they're just kind of coming in and out of existence, right? So the universe is infinite. This is the blah, blah, right? So the other thing, this sutra, this is mentioned in the Gateway Experience. In the heaven of Indra, there is said to be a network of pearls so arranged that if you look at one, you can see all the others reflected in it. So it's like saying in a strand of DNA, you can see the code for the whole body. All right. In a strand of one of these pearls, you can, if you look at it, you can see all the others reflected in it. And, if you look at molecular biology in that, it's like the cells are very similar to, larger organisms, and, the atom looks a lot like our solar system. There's a nucleus, like there's a big hot bit and there's like little molecules. I'm not saying our planet's a proton or an electron, but they all kind of look the same. And like the reason I got this is like everything has like the golden ratio, like the way that a flower grows is like that. And like the way a spiral galaxy unfolds is like that. Like everything's the same design, yeah? It's all according to that figure, yeah? I've got pi on that side and then I've got phi on that side, just to remind me. Okay, so slowing down to exist outside time-space, right? By leaving consciousness, right? So separateness, which is having a body and not existing in several places at once, so being separate because of confined to the body. In an out-of-body sense and connecting to infinity, we don't leave our memories behind. This is interesting, okay? So the identity is still with us in infinity. What we lose is the will or choice because we're not in our body that does exist in time-space. So we can observe infinity, but you can't do anything because you don't have your body. You can't make decisions and like affect things, right? But you can just kind of look around. Yeah, this is astral travel, right? So weighing our earthly experience against the universal experience. So if you're like not in your body and you're not confined to your like normal waking consciousness and decision making and stuff, but you still have your memories, you're still you, but you can't do anything, but you're part of the universal hologram, you can kind of compare your memories to the universal hologram and other holograms. This is what they're saying is like, when you leave aside your biases, like I don't like angry people because it reminds me of being a child and being traumatized, right? But if I'm in universal consciousness and I'm like got that anger bias like left in my body, but I can sort of remember anger, and then I'm in the universe and the universe is like, anger's how people get empowered against oppression. I can weigh my bias against that without the trauma body, basically, you know, like your body's got suffering in it. It's got this like the confines of oppression and stuff like that. It's aware of the limitations, right? You know, your body's the essence of suffering. So when you're not in your body and you're like connected to universal consciousness and you still have your memories, you can learn stuff about your memories without the bias, you know, without the weight of decision making and stuff. Okay, cool. Now let's get into the gateway method. So that's all just background for the gateway method. I've spent ages on this, right? I've actually been working on this while I was doing the other episodes, the UFO and MK Ultra and stuff like that, because this was like such a rabbit hole, and it's all like legit academic documents, and like they're like letters between people who know what they're talking about. So it's like, fuck, what is he talking about? I had to like go into it. Yeah. All right. The gateway method. All right. So part of it is they get them to voice their extraneous concerns into an energy conversion box. So it kind of feels like bullshit to me, but it's kind of like hang your worries on the tree before you go in, right? So they hum at a certain frequency, and you've got to hum along with the tape, which kind of puts you at the tone like and the tape's going and so then it's like, cool, now we're at the same frequency. And then they get exposed to these affirmations like, you are more than a physical body, you are expanded consciousness, and the frequencies are playing that get your left and right brain to sync up. And yeah, the left brain slows down, and the sleep elevates the right brain, right? And they do this thing, it's called an energy balloon, right? So the energy balloon's induced, and you visualize a balloon coming from head to toe and then flowing back up again like the torus egg. So like the whirlpool, and there's the black hole at the bottom and the white hole at the top, and the energy comes back in, right? So you kind of create your own universe, yeah, in your body, right? This is also apparently to protect against low energy beings if they're to be encountered in another dimension. So this makes it weird. It's like we're at risk of interdimensional beings fucking with us when we're astral traveling. And the CIA defend against that. They're like, before sending the troops into remote viewing and shit like that, they're like, there might be demons, so you need to build a red balloon that's a small universe to protect you, all right? Seriously, this is part of the training. Okay. So hemisync, binaural beats, etc. would recommend. You can kind of do transcendental meditation with like YouTube frequencies of this stuff, right? So once achieving level 10 focus, it's called level 10 of the tapes, right? The gateway tapes and stuff. The individual can interact with other dimensions, right? So you're so good at clicking out, they call it clicking out, that you can interact in other dimensions. So, you know, I was saying you don't have your body, so you can't do anything, but at level 10, you can do shit. You can start doing shit, and it's like your right brain's like, wow, you know, it's like doing stuff that we can't understand in this like 3D reality, because it's like 4D shit, all right? So focus level 12 included several techniques to interact and obtain feedback about one's place in the universe, all right? So this is deep interdimensional astral travel skills. Level 12, all right, is like these skills. I'm going to start telling you about the skills, all right? So one of them is called problem solving. In connecting to one's higher self, the person puts out into the universe their dilemma and experiences sudden knowing or interpretation of symbols, it's called, which can alleviate the dilemma. So in my example, I don't know what to do when other people are angry because I don't like it. It upsets me and I don't have a payoff from it. If I take that into problem solving, level 12 interdimensional hologrammatic, and just go, bzz, it should just bzz, and just give me the, okay, we'll try, hasn't worked yet. But that's like a level 12 thing, is like throwing out a problem, and then, like yoga hippies go like, I'm just putting it out into the universe, blah, blah, blah. Truth to it. Some truth to it, okay? Now, probably the people who say that aren't meditating to level 12, but it's totally a thing. And maybe that's why it's filtered down into yoga, because of the sutras, and because, the actual yoga school is deeply spiritual and deeply like, it's based on a lot of work, Absolutely. There's more manifestation coming, all right? Patterning. Patterning is similar to manifesting in the New Age sense, all right? Stay tuned, Rachel. The patterning process involves concentrating on the desired outcome while in focus 12, this level 12 state. The theory is, intention created in this state creates a hologram that is then projected into the universal expanded consciousness. So we're dropping a stone into water, making a ripple, and the reason I'm saying it's frozen is, the reason I'm emphasizing that it's frozen is, the ripple goes away and it's gone, and then the bowl's still again. It's like, no, if I'm a stone and I create a ripple, it's frozen and it's there. It's just out in the universe. It doesn't ripple and go. It ripples and then it's frozen, and then piece of it can be given to where it's needed to go, and the ripple's still creating like an intention, right? In universal expanded consciousness. So as per the law of attraction, the assumption is that the goal is already created. Now, I've been preaching this for years, right? It's not, I want $1 million. I want $1 million. Because then you feel this ache, I don't have $1 million. It's like, what's it going to feel like when I've already got $1 million? This is pretty cozy. Don't have to stress anymore. $1 million ain't what she used to be, by the way. If you buy a house, you're a millionaire, $1 million blowing it, you're probably going to ruin it anyway. But the sensation of being like, this is pretty cushy, like I don't really have to stress anymore as long as I invest some of this pretty intelligently, So that feeling is how you create patterning, all right? This has confirmed my suspicions, right? So this is the important bit. I didn't know this, and the New Age dudes miss this. The intention is also set in a particular time frame. So I need to make $1 million by the time I'm 40, 50, whatever it is, right? And this is where it got interesting for me. So the more complicated the intention, the more time it takes for the universal hologram to pattern that intention into reality. So if you're like, I'm going to make $1 million tomorrow, probably not going to happen. Partly because you don't believe it, but partly like the universe doesn't really have the tools to make that happen. Even if you do chop the frequency up into little ice blocks and send them to all the right places, it's too short a time span to make $1 million, right? Maybe not you, Rach. You do some cool stuff, right? So I wonder, does it become about measuring how long you should probably... Yeah, see, it's a realistic date. So do we become better at manifesting by being realistic? And it's like, you throw out a few things and you're like, okay, that was a bit far-fetched, and you adjust your intention. Is this what witches were doing for thousands of years? Like, that was pretty stupid, like as if I was going to marry that person they already married. And then you change your intention a bit and you get better at manifesting by trying and becoming more realistic. And then you're like, I know how to manifest this. I'm going to manifest it in this amount of time because that's too long and that's too short for the universe, because I kind of know how the universe works. Universal infinite energy. Okay, works. Because do you end up with a shoddy, undercooked wish if you give it like not enough time? I wrote that down. I actually wrote shoddy, undercooked wish. All right. So the Monroe trainers actually caution against being too hasty and like pushing the pace, as this may cause reality disruptions with drastic consequences, which they call dislocating. So dislocating reality, because you've like wished for something a bit far-fetched and it's kind of fucked a few things up, right? So that's part of the patterning training, is like, don't wish for $1 million tomorrow. People may die and you'll inherit. It's problematic, okay? All right, I've only got 20 minutes and I've got to do Qigong, but I think we can get through this. More skills, level 12 skills. Color breathing. Basically a healing technique where visualizing, say, the color blue reduces inflammation in the body, whereas the color red does the opposite. It increases inflammation, yeah? The energy bar tool, right? The document likens it to a magic wand for some reason in all kinds of folklore. But the technique is it's not a wand. It's like imagining a ball of light and then charging it until it's pulsating. So like we do this in Qigong, like we create like energy balls and stuff, and they're just like for healing and shit and to be at peace. Like the intention we're creating is to be at peace, right? But what they're saying is you can create a pulsing thing, and then for some reason they make it into cylinders, and it can be used for stuff. So you can use it for healing. You can go like, yeah, I want to reduce the inflammation in my leg, so this energy bar, I'm going to make it blue, and now it's going to reduce the inflammation in my knee, right? So that's totally a thing. But this idea of making bars of energy, that's like something that is part of the training that they do, right? I don't know why it's not balls, but I guess bars store nicely in shelves and stuff, I guess. Anyway, remote viewing. And there was a shitload of documents on remote viewing, and there was like drawings. So a lot of the time, like some dude goes under and then they come back. Dude can be a she, by the way. I'm just generalizing, you know, I call my girl buddies dude, right? So calm down. And they'll come back and they draw, like there was an archway and there was this guy and there's someone with a beard and curly hair and stuff. Like I saw these drawings and that. And they have like a document that's like, did you see this? Yep. And it's because there's common sort of things people see, i.e. buildings, people, and it's like, what kind of people did you see? What kind of buildings did you see? So there's tick boxes and then little things where you fill out and then you draw the pictures of stuff that you saw, right? So, and part of this, they do like the energy bar tool. You get the energy bar that's been made. I don't know if they're on the shelf or you make one. And then you turn it into a vortex and then you like go into the vortex, or you like crystal ball the vortex, all right? So anyway, it's interesting. And then there's this whole document that I read that was the statistics of the accuracy of the remote viewing. So like it was this strike rate and this kind of thing, right? And one of the things for the remote viewing training, this is not exactly part of the gateway thing. It was like a separate thing just for remote viewers, just for like psychic spies, right? They do this thing where there's the experimenter and they have another person, and the person is put in a hotel room by themselves. They're isolated by themselves, and they have to try dream what the experimenter's looking at. So the experimenter goes into a separate room. They're separated for the whole night. And the experimenter stares at one of several artworks, and they don't know what the artwork is until the subject's been put in the room, isolated in the room. So the subject's in the room just like seeing how it goes, and the experimenter's looking at this painting just over, you know, the whole evening, just staring at it. And then they record how accurate the dreams of the other person were, you know, using hypnosis and stuff like that to, you know, hemi-sync or whatever. And one of the ones, the guy had been staring at a zebra, like this zebra, and the other person was like, yeah, I saw horses. There were all these horses and this thing like black and white stripes, like, but it wasn't a zebra, but it was like black and white, and horses. And so they dreamt about horses and black and white patterns. And they're like, okay, that's a hit. That's like success, you know? And so this document was kind of looking at the accuracy and like the strike rate of stuff like that. But how cool is that? They like give him an envelope with a picture in it, and then someone in a separate room's trying to dream what that person's staring at. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, there's 5 more skills. I don't think I'll have time for... There's this thing, a magician walks into a laboratory. I think I might have to do a separate episode for that. Pretty cool. Magician walks into a laboratory. You can look it up, and it'll go CIA files, blah, blah, blah. Magician walks into a laboratory. Check it out. It's about healing, yeah. Okay, level 12 skills. Living body map. So we use the cylinder to heal particular body systems, balancing and healing. This also uses color frequencies, as mentioned in color breathing. The difference between this and just healing like a hot knee, though, is like, we're talking like cardiovascular systems, you know, blood, arteries and stuff like that. They're talking about healing whole systems. So is that like, yeah, it says energizing body systems for like balancing and healing. So I don't know if that's in like the TCM sense. Like I think of balancing and meridian systems and stuff like that, but like it could be like hormonal endocrine system. Like we're going to get a cylinder and make it blue and then put it in, and it makes the hormones better. Like it's possible that it's more, but it's talking about systems, not just like cuts and shit. Yeah. So that's called living body map. So it's like, it goes into the system and it kind of does cool shit. It gets a life of its own. Yeah. Living body map. All right. So focus 15, we're starting to get into level 15 and 21 and stuff, right? So level 15 is specifically being able to travel into your own past, right? Focus 15 is very difficult to attain, and only 5% of the people make it in the training, right? And it's only 7 days that the commanders have to do this training. So it's part of their overall commanding training. And so only 5% of people get this time travel thing, right? Now, Focus 21, so 12 was like starting to have interdimensional access. 15 is time travel into your own past. 21 is the future, okay? And it requires large practice, right? Very advanced levels of practice and long periods of meditation and using the hemisync tapes for months or years. So this is not part of the 7-day training. This is just something that people who stay in the gateway experience can achieve, is time travel into the future. And it's like out of body, access to the future and stuff. And if only 5% of people can go into their own past, what are the odds of, it's people that work at the Monroe Institute that just keep working on it and they can get to level 21 focus, right? So out of body movement. Bob Monroe, the founder of the Monroe Institute, says that the hemisync tape has to be induced to 2,877 cycles per second. Normal beta consciousness is 30 to 40, okay? So to literally get out of your body, like as in the lift out method in astral travel, they call it, you have to get your brain to 2,877 cycles per second, and beta consciousness is 30 to 40. The ways include sliding out, climbing out, like as in make yourself stiff, they say like a telephone pole, and then standing to attention. So you kind of just stand out of your body. So that's a thing. Yeah, so I don't know the difference between just like taking yourself to a frequency where you exist in all places at once, or just getting out of your body and walking around. But there'd be different missions and skills and stuff you could do with, it's like, do I want to be in all places at once, or do I just want to go into the next room and read a document that I'm not supposed to read? This is the thing. And so, yeah, I had a whole thing on the implications. Yeah, it gets into it later with the Soviets and stuff. I think I'm going to make this a 2-parter because I don't want to rush the magician stuff because it's pretty cool. And there's a whole thing about the implications of military in each country having access to these powers, Like if you can spy on another country by teleporting and, remote viewing where the soldiers are, you can win wars much more easily. Like they're not there, they're hiding down there. We're going to surprise attack them down there. Blitzkrieg, Okay, so they talked about how important REM sleep is. And in REM sleep, the body's detached, right? That stops us from walking around, from sleepwalking. And people who do sleepwalk have a disruption in sleep paralysis, which is caused by a gamma-immune butyric acid. That's one thing, GABA, and glycine, right? Those things cause sleep paralysis. So there's research around getting a patient into REM sleep, then playing the hemisync frequency and activating their right brain enough, but not so much that it messes with them, that they're like, oh, hang on, I'm awake or I'm asleep, or not so much that it disturbs them from that, they're asleep and then you're kind of doing stuff to them, and so they kind of believe in astral travel, and it's the intuition of the right brain is like above the left brain logic here. Okay, the problems with this REM sleep thing, I'm just outlining this training, right? The powers that they get in the training. The problems with this is not having enough left brain action to interpret what was seen. So you can travel somewhere, you can have this out of body experience and travel into another room and read a document you're not supposed to read. But what I was saying before about the left brain attaching stuff to 2D, like categories and stuff, you go and you read something and you can't really associate it with other words that you've read before because your left brain's turned off. So it doesn't like understand words because the word part of your brain's turned off. What Broca's and Wernicke's area, I can't remember which is words, right? So not having enough left brain action to interpret what you're saying. And so they found that people could go and read a document in another room, but they could rarely remember like 10 numbers. Like 10 numbers was too much. You might go, 22555. Yes, I did remember that because it's pretty, whatever, but then you get a whole phone number. It's like when your brain's, like your left brain's turned off and you're astral traveling out your body to go and get a whole phone number. It's like, that's too much shit, yeah. So that was a problem with this method of using REM sleep to get out of body movement, right? Yeah, and this is really interesting, okay? I'm going to leave it on this one, yeah, cool. So the other thing that was a problem with this REM sleep out of body astral travel thing was that the hologrammatic images of people who had previously been in that place were still kind of there. There's this, you know, the person who wrote down the numbers and put it in the next room for you to sleep and go and get out of your body and go read, there was still like the hologram of that person in there for some reason. So there's like past and possibly future echoes and stuff. So as you're trying to read the numbers and try to remember them with what little part of your brain's able to interpret numbers, there's also people in the room that aren't actually there because you're asleep and they're like sitting next to you playing the frequency to you. But when you go into the next room to read it, they're still in there. It's like, oh, I can see them writing down the numbers. I can see them doing that. And so that created problems. It was like, oh, there was someone writing, and it's like, no, I was in here the whole time. And it's like, oh, well, I couldn't read the numbers because you were in the way, like you were doing shit. So yeah, so that was interesting. And there's also like these energies that interfered, right? That the remote viewer, astral traveler was so sensitive because of the right brain stuff was so sensitive to energies and stuff. Like the person writing down the thing was in a particular mood. Like if they were angry, I'd be like, oh, there's too much anger in this room or whatever. And that also disrupted people's ability to read numbers and shit like that, or to identify buildings and faces and stuff like that. Is like the echoes of past holograms of people doing shit, and also just like emotional energies and stuff were like, that interfered with the strike rate of someone remembering a number when they came back into normal waking consciousness and got out of their body, and then they tested how much that they had recalled. All right, let's make it a two-parter. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I'll tag you all in it. If you can't wait, magician walks into a laboratory. Yeah, this is good. Should I do it tonight? Should I do it later, or should I do it tomorrow? I gotta go teach Qigong now. Anyway, message me. We'll be doing the class. If you want to come, quick message me. I'll give you the Zoom link. All right, catch.